So I wanted to talk a little bit about your story of joining the U.S. Army. How was your experience in the Army?
Yeah. I mean, it was great. I went when I was pretty young. I signed up when I was 17 years old. Spent 6.5 years in the Army. Deployed overseas in 2008, 2009 to Iraq. It was one of those experiences where I was able to take a lot of positives, in kind of using my life moving forward, specifically around leadership. So you learn quite a bit in terms of small teams and how to kind of communicate and lead folks who aren't necessarily like you, right? Many times in the military, I was in a leadership position where people were much older than me, had more experience than me. And so, how do you actually create some sort of, relationship with that person where you have influence? It's not just, hey, the rank on my chest is higher than the rank on your chest, and therefore you got to listen to me. And so I think that was, probably one of the biggest takeaways. The second thing was when I deployed overseas, I was 20 years old, turned 21 in the desert, and I was with people who like they had real lives, right? They had mortgages and kids and kind of the day to day struggles and challenges of being an adult. When you're a kid, I was worried about what party there was in college, right? You don't know about any of that stuff. And so it forced me to grow up pretty quickly, which ended up being a really positive thing. And then lastly is you get this exposure to mortality and you realize like, whether you like it or not, no one so far has escaped that beast. And so you've got some finite amount of time here on earth and just you want to use as much of it as you possibly can to enjoy it and kind of squeeze every ounce of kind of happiness and life out of that time. And so when I came back, I really, really leaned into that and tried to do the best I could.
So I feel like joining any branch of the military doesn't seem like it's on the path for a lot of people today. And I was wondering, would you recommend it for people who, are like yourself, who want to be successful in business and other ventures throughout their life? Does joining the military set them up for success throughout their life?
Depends who you are, right? Depends what you're trying to accomplish. For me, I was a highly ambitious type A personality who, when 9/11 happened, I think it really kind of, struck a chord in me that if our country was going to go to war, then I'd be willing to go. Right. And I probably was naive in terms of what war, why, where, all these kind of different components. But at the time, it didn't matter to me. It was just like, hey, I'll go do it. Now, I've got four younger brothers. Some of them thought about going and doing it, and I was, pretty adamant that I did not want them to go do that. That they're their own people and they can make their own decisions. But I felt like, our family in general had sacrificed enough, and having one of us go was all that we needed. Along the same lines, I did learn a lot, right? It's a very positive experience. And so I think that there is a certain type of person who, can get tons of leadership and structure and discipline and life experience out of it. There's other people who they may want to gather certain life experiences or learn certain skills, but they don't need to go do it in the military. They may be able to go do it, some other way. And so in my head, I kind of have this framework that everyone ends up serving the country, right? Sometimes it is with military uniform on, a flag on your shoulder, and a weapon in your hand. Other people maybe are a police officer or a firefighter. Other people work inside of the healthcare system, and they do everything from deliver babies to care for the sick and the elderly. And then there's other people who are entrepreneurs, and they go and they help build GDP growth, and they help solve problems, within our country. And then others are politicians, right? And for all the shit that we give them, they actually are the leaders of the country, and they try to help come up with policies and work together. And so, regardless of kind of how you end up actually serving, I think if you kind of just look at the things you do on a day to day basis is trying to serve the collective good and really kind of push forward society and the country, then that's probably a net positive.
So it's interesting that you brought up how you didn't want your brothers to go serve. So I come from a family where both my grandparents were Marines. I have two cousins that are Marines, and my youngest brother is deploying this summer. He enlisted to be a Marine, and I was wondering if you have any advice that you would give him. We're beyond the point of where we don't want him to go. He's going for sure. So, do you have any advice for him?
Well, when you go to basic training, just remember the drill sergeants are paid to fuck with you. That's probably the easiest one. And so, when I was there, again, I was 17. I was going to play college football. I was, in the best shape of my life. And so, drill sergeants literally would just randomly call my name, whenever they were bullshitting with other, drill sergeants. And they would say, just start doing push-ups. And it was almost like they were proud of the fact that like I could sit there and do push-ups for a long time. But yeah, sure, they were proud, but I was tired, right? I'm like, hey man, I get you're trying to show off to your buddy here, but like, can I get up? And so you just got to remember it's all kind of a game, and yeah, it sucks at times, but if you kind of keep that in your mind, you'll be okay. And then when you get deployed, I think the other piece that kind of gets lost is like, look, the training's important. Right. I've told a story before that we went through some training before we went to Iraq. And frankly, it's kind of like stupid, or at least you think it's stupid, right? Like they're like setting off like fake bombs. And then you're supposed to, kind of react in a certain way or do this or whatever. And you're like, there's no danger here. Well, first time an IED went off in Iraq, every single person did exactly what they were supposed to do. And I remember as soon as it went off, it was just almost like human instinct. We just immediately all started calling out, exactly what was happening, started maneuvering into positions, etc. And what you realize is like the training worked. And so, if I could go back, I think that I would take it even more seriously than I did, because you never know, what piece of training is actually going to be the thing that ends up saving your or your buddy's life.